Well, you have to turn it off sometimes. Yeah. So let's kind of go and I'll kind of review that obedience stuff again here and just kind of walk you through what to be doing with him here. Now see how he's trying to set the stage of what happens next? You know, when you start to read your animal, what's he thinking?
Yeah.
Well, those Tweety birds have got him just roaring. And even as he's seen me coming, he's assuming that I'm gonna release him. Because the training is, you don't come off unless I come get you to release you.
Okay.
So he was already anticipating, oh, he's gonna let me go here. So we're gonna talk about you wanna do the opposite. So, no, well, I'm not letting you go when you're thinking about going.
Yeah.
I want you to go when you're going, nope, I'm just gonna wait here calmly until Dad says I'm done.
Okay.
Because right now, even though he's not making a mistake, he's still taking an inch.
Yep.
An inch will eventually lead to a mile. You're better off when you first start off with the dog at home is worrying about what the worst thing he's doing.
Okay.
So for example, like last week, we said if he wants to come off place,
Let him come.
let him come. And I'm gonna kind of try to set him up here a little bit. And at first, you're not gonna go this wild at home, but eventually, I mean, you are testing him to the limit where eventually he goes, there is nothing that's gonna get me to come off this place without him coming to retrieve me.
Okay.
You know, and that's, you know, okay, you know, letting him know
Yeah.
he wants to go.
Yeah.
Place. Good. Now, I think the most important thing then when you're speaking to the dog with the leash or the collar, I tell you once, the second time you are giving a command, correction.
Okay.
If you think it's a flat out refusal, disobey, breaking your command, then you'll get in the habit of being an instant correction.
Okay.
You don't get a free chance anymore.
Yeah.
You have to kind of put your foot down for a while, and then you can kind of, you know, just like your parents now are way more, you know, lenient on all of us because it's at a different stage. Because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing for the most part. Whatever you can do to get him to trigger. Me walking up is triggering something. Okay, so you'll simplify just one little thing and then, oh, hi, puppy, hi. Off. Hi, puppy. Off. Hi, puppy. Off. Any problems that arise, you're just this calm trainer that just keeps addressing and getting as many reps on something as it's happening.
Okay.
You know, not ever moving on to something else when we're having we found an issue.
Yeah.
Let's get this, oh, hi, hi. Okay, he made sense of it, he made a good decision, now you're done picking on that subject.
Okay.
But you want to stimulate this little athlete, so you're gonna go, okay, let's test something else then.
Yeah.
Who's a pretty puppy? Who's a pretty puppy? So he made his own decision. He broke, but he went, ugh. So I won't correct him for that because he made a good decision.
Okay.
But I was kind of going to go off that first example of when he comes home, that if he wants to come off, you're at the kitchen table and he's on his doggy bed and you can see him coming. Just let him come. He comes up to you, hi, Dad. You just calmly have the leash, because he'll have a leash on him the first few, month of doing some of this stuff.
Okay.
You'll just there's the leash. Calmly get up from your chair. You know, it's not a rah, I'm the king, you're getting taken back, and you will stay in your spot until I say you're done.
Okay. So you don't say like no or anything like that, you just...
And especially not with a pointer, because no sounds like whoa.
Okay.
So whoa means stop in the field. So we don't want to, you're yelling no or whoa in the field, he might go, whoa, what?
Yep.
At home, that means something I'm in trouble for.
Okay.
You don't want to bring that to the field.
Yep.
Really, at the end of the day, you want to start by speaking to him with the leash first,
Okay.
teaching the animal what to do, then adding a word with what you're doing.
Okay.
Where the world thinks that the more they talk to their dog, that they're just magically going to figure it out. Well, they do as they get to be 5, 6, 7 years old. I want him by the time he's 2 years of age, that there really isn't more to work on. He knows that there's a system that has to go about. And it's really easy, even for, us at home as a dog trainer. I mean, are we on our dogs like this all the time? Absolutely not. when I do go live life, and my wife says, well, I went for a walk today and he was pulling, well, then that tells me for the rest of the week, I'm going to work, I'm going to see if he'll pull on me. All right, now, honey, I want to see if he pulls on you. And we're both going to correct him. And then we try to go back out in the public and see if he can do his job.
Okay.
And that's really what it comes down to, unfortunately, right now, is even though he's your boy, he's your employee here for a few years.
Well, it's, like you said last week, no different than parenting.
It really
You want to
is.
have fun with them, but in the end, you want them to
Yep.
obey you. And
You will end up spoiling him more doing it right,
yep,
because then you'll be happy. So it just kind of feeds off each other.
yep,
Good boy.
a lot of sense.
Good. Good boy. You know, you will really quickly be able to go from the leash to, like you see me even last week, I was using the collar correction. I mean, the thing about keeping these pointers a little longer too is to really make sure that they understand. And even at this point, they're just so trying to go fast all the time. That's why it takes a little longer. Is you can't just be tough on them and ram it down there. You have to break it down, slow it down. And that's where I'm going to say with him, everything needs to be nice and slow.
Yeah.
I say getting up from the chair, it's not, it's okay, no big deal, but I'm going to handle this situation. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be in charge of what I want. Good.
So when even if you're working on this stuff in the house, and when you tell him to go to his place, you want a leash on him in the house to start then?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Or like, you know, even these Dachshund leashes, you'll have his remote collar on, but like these Dachshunds can be slip leashes.
Okay.
So you'll just have like a slip leash on him.
Yeah.
So when you're training, you just kind of, I'm going to slip this on.
Okay.
Then the next week will go on, like, all right, I've had a week of having the leash on, he's doing really good. Well, then now let's take that off. And let's test everything the same without the leash. Because there are dogs that go, hey, I heard
I'm free. Yeah.
I'm free. And that's why we do the transition of this thing is the same. And that's where we want to focus on. The first correction was a flick of the chain. Then we would have put the remote collar in the same spot.
Okay.
At the end here, it doesn't matter where he is. He understands that he's been conditioned that this is a leash.
Yeah.
And that's where people can screw up collars because it's not a leash, it's something bad. So if he's in the garbage, you're not going to correct him with this.
Okay.
You're going to go to old school, here, you want to be in the garbage, swat on the nose, a knee off, and then, you know, more about tempting him to get in the garbage and put your hands in the cookie jar, you're going to get your fingers in there.
Okay.
That's kind of your attitude on that stuff.
Okay.
I want the collar, meaning we're working. We're going to go do something, we're hunting, we're retrieving, we're going for a walk. The dog doesn't look at this device as a punishment, so never use it as a punishment.
Okay.
If the dogs bark here, they do make bark collars, and bark collars are better because when you use this device, when the dog barks, you hear it, you press the button, and then it goes back to the dog. Delay.
Yeah.
Bark collars are instant correction.
Okay.
Where when you're doing this one, now we're focused on, you know, we have a little more focus on that part because, you know, we're watching the dog.
Yeah.
Where the bark, you have, by the time, it's kind of more of a surprise correction for a trainer.
Yep.
If a dog does enough bark collar, eventually this can work, but it all comes with conditioning and long-term training. So when you get him home the first week, I want you to, like I said, let him be 100% wrong before you come down on him.
Okay.
As the 30 days come by, then you're going, now I want you to be the best dog you possibly can.
Okay.
So even like today, when you take off walking, you're going to say heel, and if you have to tell him twice, you're going to use the leash first for everything.
Okay.
Heel. If he walks, everything's fine. You know, and even good boy, you get into a habit of giving him a little attention and love every time he makes a great decision. And then the biggest mistake people make is they hold the leash on the dog. Never hold him tight.
Okay.
Give your child as much opportunity in life as he wants. Yeah, absolutely. Heel. You guys should be able to just be nice and comfortable walking this dog. This should not be anymore where you see everybody stressed out about trying to walk the dog. You know, and it's going to really come down to he's walking pretty nice, but he is sniffing.
Yeah.
You know, you're really going to get to the point where when you're doing drills, this isn't the walk, this is work time. You eventually want to work him to the point where he never makes a mistake, and you're watching him like a little hawk. The first few days, you're not going to get this picky.
Yeah.
The first few days, you're just kind of worrying about the big oops.
Okay.
But then after a month, you're watching every little step he makes. If he sniffs the ground, if he doesn't turn, he sees the Tweety bird, he loses focus on you. Correction.
Okay.
All right, we talked a little bit about left turns.
Yep.
It's always harder for that animal to get out of your way compared to following you. And it's not that he's a bad dog. If he was a right-hand heel dog, it'd be the opposite problem. So no matter what you guys do with him, even if you need to go right down the street, you do a left circle, 360, and then go right. And every time you turn, I try to use the analogy of he's snow and you're the plow pushing him out of the way.
Okay.
So you kind of use your knee or the combination of a leash. And what can happen with dogs that want to hit your knee a lot, eventually then what we would do is place his remote collar between us.
Okay.
So I would do in training first leash, leash knee, leash correction, or all three possibly.
Okay.
To get that buffer of you don't run into me.
Okay.
Wintertime, you're going to walk him down an icy sidewalk, or one of the, somebody at home is, and he just thinks he can cut in front of you and stop the train.
Yep.
That's not an option.
Okay.
And that's, once again, a wild natural instinct. That's why like all animals that run in herds are right on top of each other trying to direct.
Yep.
It's just a natural instinct.
Okay.
And we're making them adapt to our world, so you have to give him that understanding that there is a little gap between us.
Okay.
I have one right now that's, every day he just shoulder. He just gives me right in my kneecap every day.
Yep.
He's got to get his little push in to feel a little more of a dominant animal. But it's okay. I'm taking the abuse, and that you have to take that as a trainer. You take the punishment from the dogs at first until they start learning.
Okay.
You're just going to take a step back, even though he is farther along. Then like your dog at this point does not need this leash on him. If I had just a remote collar, we would have the same results.
Okay.
You're at a point where you've only worked him one time.
Yeah.
Today will be 2 times. So you're not going to put him in a position where he can't listen to you.
Okay.
That's really what you going back to the leash is all about.
Okay.
All right. So with that right and left, I would just say, get your 360s in with him. He'll need a lot of left 360s. We always say in our literature, to do figure 8s. That way you're kind of working on both, which right there is a good opportunity to do a right turn. Yep. But a right turn is only when he's distracted to go left. Where normally he needs, I could catch him. And really, you're trying to ask him that pay attention to who you're walking with.
Yeah.
That it's supposed to be us together, not
You doing what you want.
exactly. But they will figure that out as that's how it happens. But he's not done being a young dog.
Yep.
After a few seasons, he learns this is never out of control. But hunting is, Dad lets me go ripping. Yeah, I got to stay close to him, but I can go rip tearing around and have that. And then they finally have that on and off switch.